Okay, let's talk about Florence. We all have that picture in our minds, right? The incredible art, the food, that golden light hitting the Arno River. It's a dream destination. But what really happens when your dream trip meets the modern reality of travel?
Yeah, that's the problem. You go there to have this profound experience with a masterpiece, but instead you're just shoulder to shoulder with thousands of other people. It can feel less like a cultural journey and more like, well, just a very crowded theme park. The actual magic just gets drowned out.
So the big question is, how do you break free from that? How do you find that authentic, jaw-droppingly beautiful Florence that you've been dreaming about? Well, that's what we're going to unpack here, and it all starts with a simple but powerful shift in your perspective.
It really boils down to this one idea: making the switch from being a tourist to being a traveler. A tourist just ticks boxes off a list. A traveler, on the other hand, wants to actually experience a place. It sounds like a small distinction, but trust me, it changes absolutely everything.
So here's the game plan. We're going to use what's called the living city approach. Instead of treating Florence like some dusty old museum where everything important happened 500 years ago, we're going to treat it like the living, breathing city it is right now. It's all about finding its modern heartbeat, exploring real neighborhoods, and seeing where Florentines actually live their lives.
All right, so where does this start in a practical sense? It starts with where you lay your head at night. Seriously, this single decision can completely change the entire vibe of your trip.
You've basically got two main choices. On one hand, you have the Centro Storico, the historic center. Yeah, it's convenient for the Duomo and the Uffizi, no doubt. But it's also packed, nonstop, and you're paying top dollar for everything. But then, just across the river, you have the Oltrano. This is a whole different world. It's the city's artisanal soul, filled with workshops, local shops, and just room to breathe.
And don't think for a second that you're roughing it over here. No way! The Oltrano has some absolutely gorgeous places to stay. You could live out a full Renaissance fantasy at Palazzo Guadagni, go for a cool, artsy vibe at Soprano Suites, or get an amazing deal with the super local feel at Hotel Sila. You're basically just trading crowds for character, and you're not giving up an ounce of comfort.
Okay, so you've got your home base sorted. Now let's use that exact same living city idea to plan out what you're actually going to do with your days.
The magic word here is balance. Look, of course you have to see Michelangelo's David. I'm not going to tell you to skip it, but the trick is to pair that big-ticket item with something more authentic. So, after you've been amazed at the Accademia, instead of running to the next crowded museum, take a walk up to the Basilica of San Miniato al Monte. It's this incredible 1,000-year-old church, and the view of the city from there, just as stunning as the famous one, but way, way more peaceful. And hey, a quick but super important tip for those big sites. You have to book tickets for the Uffizi and the Accademia weeks in advance. I'm not kidding. It's the difference between walking right in and losing half your day standing in a line. Oh, and remember, most of the big state museums close on Mondays, which means Sunday and Tuesday get absolutely slammed. So just plan your week with that in mind.
Now let's talk about my favorite topic, food. It is so easy to fall into a tourist trap in Florence and pay way too much for a pretty mediocre meal. But there's a secret weapon, a little hack for finding fantastic, authentic food at a price that feels right.
I want you to meet the Bib Gourmand. Now, when you hear Michelin Guide, your brain probably goes to super fancy, super expensive restaurants, right? Well, the Bib Gourmand is their hidden gem award. They give it to places that serve amazing food for a really good price. It's basically like they've created a treasure map for us, pointing out all the best value spots in the city.
So what do we mean by good value? We're talking about a full, high-quality, delicious meal for under 35 euros. I mean, think about that. This isn't just some cheap dinner. This is a meal that the world's most famous food critics said was excellent, and it costs about the same as a sad tourist trap pizza near the main square.
So the strategy is super simple. First, look for that little Bib Gourmand seal at spots like Da Borde or Il Latini, places that are famous for keeping real Tuscan cooking alive. Second, you have to book a table ahead of time. These places are popular with locals for a reason, so you can't just show up. And third, try a classic. Dive into a hearty ribollita soup or go for the legendary bistecca alla Fiorentina.
Okay, to wrap this all up, I want to connect this very modern problem of navigating Florence to something that's literally in the city's DNA. Because this whole spirit of finding a clever solution to a huge problem, well, it's baked right into its most famous landmark.
For decades, the famous Duomo had a giant hole in its roof because nobody on Earth knew how to build a dome that massive. People thought it was impossible. Then, this guy, Filippo Brunelleschi, comes along, and he solves it with just pure, incredible genius. He designed a lighter, double-shell dome.
He used a special herringbone brick pattern so it could hold itself up while it was being built. He even had to invent his own machines just to lift the materials that high. He didn't just design a dome, he had to invent the technology to make it real.
And that right there is the true heart of Florence. Its beauty isn't just in the finished product, in the art itself, but in the incredible ingenuity and problem-solving it took to create it. So the challenge you have today of how to see the real city beyond the crowds, it's just a modern version of that same puzzle. And the real question isn't just what you'll see in Florence, but how you'll see it. How are you going to apply that same creative spirit to unlock your own perfect trip?